What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this is where we talk about the news topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the past week. If you enjoy the Scale News Update, hit the like button. Let's jump into this week's topics. First for this week, HPI re-releasing the WR8 in both a Flux and a Nitro version, but with a new Subaru body that looks really good. The WR8, obviously not a new platform, one that's been out for a really long time, or was out for a really long time, or a really long time ago, however you want to put that. But reintroduced with a new body, just again, little just glimpses of hope that HPI is going to crawl out of what they've, the hole that they've dug themselves. This one looks pretty good. Coming back out with a Nitro version, a little bit surprising. Thought maybe they just stick with the Flux, but going all in with both options. So I liked the WR8 before. I really like the body choice they went with this time. Maybe the market will as well. If this platform isn't too old to people don't think it stacks up. I never owned one myself. I don't know the problems that they may or may not have had in comparison to what the other options are on the market. But nevertheless, an interesting new or re-release from HPI. If you're interested in it, I'll link where you can find more details in the description below, as well as links to the rest of today's stories. Next, a new release from JConcepts, and this is the Gozer body, which we've seen before, but it was for a monster truck. Now they released it and they're putting it at a 12.3 inch wheelbase and aiming it towards trail trucks. It seems like I would hate this more. For some reason, something about it, I don't hate it. Now, one thing is that all of the photos that they show on the website, they show this rooftop, cage that kind of goes back to the bed area. I thought that looked pretty good. I was hoping that they were, including that as like an injection molded piece, but that's not the case. Even though they show it in every photo, that is a part that you have to purchase from Shapeways separately. And Shapeways costs are not all that cheap. They're not that durable in comparison to a, injection molded option. So I wish they would have included that in an injection molded option. It seems like it has some potential. I don't know. I don't hate it. I'm sure you're as surprised as I am, but I hate the name. They didn't fail with the name being terrible. And I'm sure that the, votes on the looks on this may be pretty split as well, but it's JConcepts, man. I want to see what you guys rate this body in the comments. 1 to 5, rate it on that scale. I'm not saying it's a 5. It's like a 3.5 to me. Like right, 3, 4, 3.5. It's a little bit for the weird factor, but rate it below in the comments. Next, the Arrma Fireteam. Now this not a traditional scale news type of vehicle, but I wanted to talk about it nonetheless. Arrma released this. It's on one of their other platforms, a platform that's been out already. I believe it's the Mojave platform. And they put on a molded cage with an interior, multiple figures holding weapons of some sort. They've got tires on it that have like a fake molded tweel design to make it look like one of those, airless tires. This looks like a vehicle that was used in the TV show Westworld on HBO. That's clearly where the inspiration for this came from. It's got a lot of very specific design cues that you can pull from that. It's an odd looking thing. At first glance, I didn't love it. There's just things about it that I'm not loving. I do like the push for some sort of scale representation, it's scale in its own ways, and putting that into the basher world. Anytime that scale world migrates into those areas, I'm all for it. So for that reason, I think this is kind of a cool truck. And they released it in two, pretty, a white version and a black version. The white's kind of like a snow camo, looks pretty cool. Black, very tactical looking. There was definitely some split opinions on this one as well. But again, because of their direction and the thought that they had behind it, I like it. And I like where Arrma was going. I hope they continue to do that on more and more of these vehicles, because the blend of scale into bashing probably make me want to bash more often. A while back, we talked about the Redcat lowriders, the Monte Carlo. This is a little bit different than the 64. These are starting to come up as pre-orders in multiple places now. The release information was very end of last year. I thought that they were going to be available by now, but I think this is right around the schedule that they had discussed. This is a different chassis than the 64 version was. The suspension is set up on servos, but in a different configuration than previously was done on that 64. This one meant to do, different motions rather than just the hopping style, or doesn't have quite the hopping ability that the 64 does, but it looks like it's still able to do that, and it's a pretty cool looking rig. I prefer the Monte Carlo body over the 64 personally, but this is available in green and purple, also less expensive than the 64 was. So if you were kind of on the fence and it was just a little high, this one brought it down a little bit more. Still a lot of detail, cool, very unique platforms for what they are. So if you're interested in picking up one of these Monte Carlos, jump on the pre-order, pick one up while the allotments last. The 64s went pretty quick. Not sure how these will go, but it's like a lot of things in the hobby industry, you gotta get them while you can. And speaking of that lowrider, Reefs RC had posted up that they had put 4 of those Alacritous 300 servos. Those were the servos that previously controlled the front of that 64 hopper. Super fast servos was the point of those. They put 4 of them in one of those Monte Carlos, painted black, very training day-esque. I liked it. Looked pretty good. Those, again, the same servos that they were using on the front of them on the 64 version, put them on all 4 corners of the Monte Carlo, and I'm sure that thing will move quite rapidly. And speaking of servos, a new electronics company that's popped up recently is HK Hobbies. Started seeing a little bit from them recently, and they are now kind of jumping on that same style of direct power servos as we see from a lot of the name brand companies. This is a 35 kilogram servo that's 2 to 4S capable, just like a lot of the other servos that we're seeing available now. So these very inexpensive servo, like 35 bucks. Checks a lot of boxes, especially for people who are normally buying servos off Amazon or eBay and are just kind of looking at some of these things. Now you get some of those features in a less expensive servo. Not a lot of speed as you might expect, but pretty decent servo for the money. Picked up a couple of these myself and pretty much exactly what I expected. So if you're looking for one of these low budget servos, here's an option to consider in the future. A few weeks back, we talked about the release of the RC 4-wheel drive Trailfinder 3 Launch Edition. Now, we haven't seen a non-launch edition version come out yet, but they did lower the price of that special edition version by 50 bucks. So you can get this thing for $5.99 now rather than $6.50. Now, it says that there's only 200 of these launch edition versions being made, and they reduced the price. They're still available, so that may lead into a little bit about how the sales of those special editions are going. But if you're interested in that and you wanted to jump on soon, at least it's a little bit less painful now with the price. And then hopefully we see more information on the non-launch edition version of the Trailfinder 3 before too long. For you no prep fans, the Drive RC front wheel drive import car body is available. It's a Civic. It's a Civic hatch. Now, in the pictures that they put on their Facebook, it is shown on a rear wheel drive car, but it is made for a front wheel drive. They said that in the post that the body is actually shown on a B6 buggy, so it's a shorter car than regular no prep drag racing vehicles. The wheelbase on this body is 11.25 inches, so a good bit shorter than the typical short course based no prep cars. Track width at the rear is 10, at the front 10 7/8. So a little bit wider in the front with those flared front fenders to cover up the slicks that you're likely going to be running. Kind of cool. I haven't seen front wheel drive drag racing as much, but I'm sure it exists somewhere. And this one, a pretty cool option. Drive RC doesn't have a website to go through purchase. They do have a post on their Facebook saying how you can PayPal or Cash App them to get one of those bodies. The second episode of the Road to Scale Nationals, the video series that myself as well as Matt from the Scale Builders Guild are doing to document our path to get prepared for the Sorka Scale Nationals that will be happening in Leesburg, Alabama. aired last Wednesday, and Matt's episode was going to air this Wednesday. We're staggering episodes on this series, so my episode will post 1 week, Matt's the next, every Wednesday until the actual Scale Nationals happens. A lot of work to get there. My episode last week was 30 minutes long. If you're looking for a lot of tech-heavy fabrication type information, go check out that video from last week, and I'll link it in the description below. And then Matt's will be live tomorrow, so make sure and check his out as well. And after you've watched Matt's episode of Road to Scale Nationals, don't forget that also on Wednesday we do our live stream takeover, where Matt and I have a couple-hour live stream every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern, or whatever time zone that correlates to where you may be. So check that out. Also, of course, replay is up afterwards in case you can't watch it live, but if you can, jump in, interact in the chat. Always fun to have you guys there. So don't forget, live stream tape. It's like 97 weeks in a row without missing one. Consistency. Proline posted another photo of the upcoming Tacoma body. This is a rear 3/4 view. Doesn't show a ton of the front detail, things like that. So it's still a little bit, hidden back or pulled back from exactly what they're going to show. But if you're a Tacoma fan, this probably stood right out at you. I actually kind of missed it as I scrolled by. Didn't notice that this was the new Tacoma body that was going to be coming out. So it's probably just because I don't know my Tacomas all that well, but it does look like this is coming in the 4-door short bed flavor. So probably that will make Toyota owners happy. I don't know. Not sure exactly which one would have been the most preferred body style, but this one seems like the one that I see most often. We're still waiting on the full release information on this body. They say they have more information coming this week, so I'm sure we'll catch up on that next week. Also posted from Proline this week was another teaser about their upcoming tires for the Arrma Infraction and Felony. These were posted months and months ago about it, something coming out. I think they even showed a video of it under that C8 Corvette body that they had made, but then nothing. Now, finally seeing something again. Proline obviously has the ability to get the information or formula or whatever it was as far as what the original tires were. So I'm looking forward to seeing what their idea was as far as what they're trying to improve. More smoke, I hope, because that's the coolest feature of those tires. And lastly from Proline by the Fire tickets are available now. They announced dates. Everything is set. This is a medieval theme, as we've talked about before with the announcement of Proline by the Fire this year. But when you're buying your tickets, you have to choose a faction. I think there's 4 different factions. You have to choose which one you're joining when you sign up. A cool little, extra twist that they're putting onto it. And they say if you buy tickets by a certain time, I think it's like up until June, and you choose one of the factions, then you're going to get a special gift, probably themed towards whichever one you chose, in your driver bag. So Proline just taking things a step further. They do such a good job with the organization of these events. Had so much fun at them. Really looking forward to 2022 Proline by the Fire. Hopefully see a bunch of you there. But that's going to do it for this week's news topics. For this week's question though, what's your favorite thing that you've learned through RC? Whether it's a skill like soldering or painting or just following instructions better, driving skill, getting yourself outside of your normal comfort zone, going to events, whatever it is, post it in the comments below. Enjoy reading your comments every week, one of my favorite parts of the Scale News Update. So post up below. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you have an awesome rest of the week. A lot to do, a lot of videos coming. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.